all means necessary, you must have electricity, and you will not pay for estimated bill anymore. A promise made will be a promise kept. If I can't keep the promise and I come back for second term, don't vote for me.
We are discussing. Hello, welcome to this episode of Say a Prayer, Guys, May Nigeria Never Happen to You on YouTube and TikTok. Okay, I was welcoming the guys on TikTok before I came on YouTube. Okay, my name is Richie Adewusi. We are reaching you through Nostalgia Media, of course, on YouTube and TikTok. Today, we are going to be looking at a continuation of my Biafra story specifically. We're going to be also looking at contemporary issues, well, taking issues from that time. I'm talking precisely 66, 67, 1966, 1967 to 70 to this day. Okay, so we are looking at the issues of around infrastructure and natural resources. You might say, what's the link? Plenty of links. So as you will find out, and those issues seem to actually sit at the center of all that aids Nigeria, ails Nigeria, not aid, or that ails, or that is, well, wrong, if you like, with Nigeria at this time. As we got started, we took you through a few of the things you could consider natural resources, the ones that a lot of people know about, oil and gas. Nigeria is blessed with all different kinds of solid minerals, okay, all over. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that doesn't have some solid or other natural resource within those states or within those regions. And as you get to see, the issues of insecurity in Nigeria right now, today, well, they didn't start today, okay? It's just that people have become more desperate, following suit, replicating what people they have been working for, had been doing for years, and then it spread. I'm not speaking in parables. Yeah, you get to understand what I'm talking about. You probably also already know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the issues of around infrastructure and natural resources, it's about the issues, well, of master servant, demand supply, leader follower, copycatting. Still talking parables? No. I would start by narrating, well, a podcast, well, making a comment about a podcast I saw online in the course of the week. And then some messages that a couple of people sent me about this program. Like I've always said, please, it would help all of us if the messages or comments are posted in comment section of this program to benefit everybody. I keep getting a whole lot of private messages and very useful messages, but just seems people are not. It's not that they are not interested. They are weary. They're afraid of something, and this is no time for anyone to be afraid. Not recklessness, not talking, uh, without any form of decorum or carelessly, but make your voices heard. States have received some very, very deep comments about the issues we've raised on this program. Okay. Like I keep saying, I'm not at liberty to post because of, well, the people who send them. It's not that I'm afraid, but again, I don't have confidentiality is confidentiality, unfortunately so. Okay. So I am not able to share some, but I could talk about certain things in passing without being specific. There would also be from some of those messages that have been sent. I saw a podcast, I don't want to mention the name of somebody said that Biafra, the whole Biafra issue is a scam. The Biafra war, the civil war, okay, not whatever is happening now about IPOP and all of that. That the civil war was a scam. I felt so pained. And to make that narrative a little bit more disturbing, a number of the people who were on that podcast or who commented, who participated, had names that sounded like Igbo. But again, after a while, I gave myself peace. Why? Because why did I decide to write this book, Biafra, Lest We Forget to Start With? Is to say what happened to ordinary people like myself, like my family members, like our friends, kith and kin in the southeast of Nigeria about that time, during that time, not about that time, before, during, and after that civil war, the Biafra war. So if I wasn't involved, if I wasn't affected, if I didn't see the things I saw and wrote this book, maybe I'll probably be talking like some of them. I don't think I would, because careless talk is not um, part of my makeup. For somebody to say that the Biafra war was a scam, I only put that down to pure ignorance. And if it was for the purpose of just creating content, there are certain things people should not work at creating content for, out of, just for the sake of trending. First, it was disrespectful to all the people that got killed, all the lives that were lost, all the lives that are messed up. I'm here talking, hosting this program in about 6 months ago. About 6 months now, I've been hosting this program every week. It's grace that saved me, saved my family members. It's not because we didn't know how to do anything. It's grace that got me and my family members to get going again and be where we are today. I know a lot of friends, a lot of schoolmates that's not the story. It's not because they did anything. It's not because they didn't know how to do anything. It's not everybody. And for some people to disrespect people, and that's why Nigeria is where it is right now. Live for the moment. Operate from hearsays and half-baked stories. I bent over double before writing this book. If you read it, I stated the reason I wrote it. I didn't want to. For many years, I felt like writing. I said no. Until I had to educate my son. So technically, Biafra, lest we forget, is a letter, it's a story I told my son. If you read it, it's addressed to him, and by extension, his generation, and maybe any other generation that think or thinks it makes sense to know what happened from the perspective of ordinary people, civilians, who lived through that period and beyond it. I have friends, family members, schoolmates that got wasted. Not during the war, after it, because of hopelessness. Where do they start from? How would they? My brother, Sonny, I've narrated when I get to the portions or sections of this podcast, the live stream, to talk about my portion or the segment or installment of my Biafra story for each segment. If you've heard me mention Sonny, my brother Sonny, that was in the Biafra. I mean, that we, providentially got to meet at Nkweri, where the war itself ended in 1970, January 1970. Well, ended in quote. I keep saying ended in quote because has that war ended, really? If it has ended, why is this guy in jail? And you have other people making all sorts of outlandish statements, treasonous statements, walking free around Nigeria. You will hear some of them in the course of this. So before I continue on the trajectory I'm on, we should all have a good understanding that this guy, Nnamdi Kanu, is a political prisoner. You see, that treason thing, that is politics. It's a political prisoner. You have to understand it that way. He needs to be released. And whatever, there are some AI generated videos all over the place talking about conditions or no conditions. Whether they are AI or real, those things are like jokes. Because I don't know anybody else that anybody has given any conditions. You are integrating, as I speak, there's news flying all around from the last 2, 3, 4 days about the reintegration of over 700 repentant Boko Haram terrorists into the Nigerian society. And you wonder what is wrong with everybody. But all of it started around infrastructure and natural resources. Believe it or not. So there needs to be accountability around these issue areas. There needs to be accountability. My brother Sonny, for those people who are talking about this scam, it's not scam, you are talking about individuals, not figures, not just human beings. Until a few years ago, I never really understood what was happening with my brother. And I don't think that other family members have come to that point that I can, because this is the first time I'm saying it publicly or even privately to anyone. Who helped anybody with anything called PTSD, post-traumatic, stress syndrome? Who? My brother had a lot of issues, still has a lot of issues I was struggling with. Why did you understand it? The same with he's about 77 or so now. He's over 75 now. He struggled with that, has lived with that since alone, battling. Of course, he will show up in a whole lot of anti-social, anti-relationship behavior and all of that. But it's PTSD. It's caused by that war. I'm lucky. I wasn't a soldier, but I saw crazy things no child should see. And somebody's saying, Biafra of this camp. Well, if it was a scam, the people who created this scam, who organized this scam, are the people ruling you today. Not necessarily the individuals in power now, but the ideologies that are in place in Nigeria now. And what's that ideology? What's the main issue in the center of that ideology? People have tried to, twist, turn, hoodwink the rest of us that it is a religion. It's not. Those are cover-ups by people who had been cornering the resources of Nigeria without addressing the infrastructural challenges and needs of Nigerians. Yet, Nigeria has been being looted. It's not just money. When they talk about this government official, crazy things are happening that you don't know their monetary worth are never reported because they are not official. Have been a long time. I'm still talking parable, eh? No. I'll play you a video first. A young woman, and she's just a representative of many young women, many communities, many environments like that. Many. Now, don't get me wrong. There are infrastructural challenges in every country of the world. One time, I was in New York. That was a traffic situation. We were in a tunnel, they bridge. That was New York, yes. And I was looking at the cracks. There was a flyover, one tunnel in the flyover, under the flyover. I was looking at all the old looking conduit pipe, the cracks and the leaking, the water dripping from places. Of course, that's a problem, but it's New York. It's an old city. When that bridge would have been, they have built that bridge, that flyover, those conduit, those. But somehow they keep finding ways to keep them functional. They keep having politicians, city officials coming forward to say, I'm going to fix so. And they manage somehow to, is everything completely okay? No. In the city where I live, you have potholes in roads, they fix them. Sometimes things happen and we're like, here? How? Specific times of the year, contractors would go dump or put blocks. There'll be so much confusion. Even Google Map would be crazy in directing you where to go, where not to go. And sometimes you ask, what exactly did they do? Or what was wrong with this place that they dumped all of it, put all this equipment? So every society has its own problem. That's where I'm going. But Nigeria's problems just seem to mushroom by the reason of the weakness that presents as strength from the center. It's a weakness, it's not strength. State actors start criminalities. And people who they've used or they would have empowered or equipped directly or indirectly begin to copy those criminalities. And then they mushroom to what is on ground now. Yeah. In the course of this podcast, I've said that politicians have ended up creating warlords in all the parts of Nigeria, not one area. We'll come to that. We'll play a video. So I'm going to play you a video of this show woman asking questions. What did we do here? You saw some of the neighborhoods in the clip we played for you. Once again, don't get me wrong. Every country has its ghettos. Every single country has problems. But the difference is what people in authority try to do to address those issues. And if they don't, there's accountability that comes with when they want to say, can you put me back again? That's the difference. Systems that hold public officials accountable. Those systems are run by people. And it is the people that have the business of holding public officials accountable. That's not our main issue today, because next episode we're going to be talking about the media and the electorate. That's when we talk more about what you have done or what you haven't done and what you are still not ready to do to hold your public office holders accountable, from your president to your local government councillors to your village heads. Okay? So, just see this video of this young woman about a road. It says just 40 minutes or 45 minutes rain. Here.
For what? For 2,000, for 5,000, for 6 yards of clothes. Look at our road, and we just had less than 40 minutes rain. Did the rain exceed 40 minutes? Was it never even started. We just had a light rain in March. Never started. So imagine what my people, June. What our Nigerian north will go through with this road. June. Come April, May, June, July. What is this wickedness on Nigerian north leaders?
Some of you might say, hey, so what? No, it's so plenty. If that is where you live, if that is where you go, you have to pass through daily to go to work, school, farm, and you have done your bit by saying, okay, yes, go represent us. And they don't represent you. There have been cases of those who are the representatives being the ones who get the contract to do those routes. There have been cases where people have used broomsticks to, say that they have built bridges across some swampy or waterways or something. Broomsticks, yeah, say bridge. There have been cases where people just collect money and nothing happens. And when you go check the documents, you find out that some of those roads, the contract is said to have been completed. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be. But have at the back of your mind two things. Number one, I have mentioned it earlier, there's no community, there's no state. Let me go lower. Local government in Nigeria that doesn't have one form of natural resource or the other. From agricultural and to non-agricultural. Yeah. It's neglect. Okay, the focus had been shifted from the agricultural resources that in the first place have the capacity to employ the greater part of Nigeria, that population or percentage of Nigerians of working, age or ages. Within their localities, within their environments. The same public officials who are the first to get there. Remember, I said people have engaged people, trained them to do certain things on their behalf. And those people they train say, I can do this on my own. Why should I continue to? Now, we'll get to that story. We'll show you how terribly it could backfire, and it has been backfiring. And at the end of the day, everybody eat the breakfast, as in every Nigerian, one way or the other, with the issues of insecurity that's on ground now. Why is somebody saying the federal government should also come now and pay Almajiris, let them get their share? It has always been that share of national cake. Let them also benefit from the share of Nigeria's wealth. Why? Because people who are saying that, who've been saying that, who've been enforcing, not just saying, what's the thing that is, propping up the whole issue of reintegrating terrorists, killers, murderers? It's you did it, you are doing it in so place, it should also be done in so place. Well, Nigeria has gotten to have people in positions of authority, even if it's just because they could talk, have platforms to talk from, that now don't have any sense of decency, of patriotism, of development, and they have nationalized all of those. They've made up their minds to nationalize on productivity, if there's any word like that, lack of productivity. A society that produces nothing but eats everything, consumes everything but produces nothing. So they've made up their mind to make consumption a subculture. Well, it's even a main culture now, it's no longer subculture, whilst disregarding productivity. I'm still talking parables, no. What caused a civil war if they ask you? Oh, it's Igbos, it's okay. Even when history says no, it's not. What scuttled the Aburi Accord? You can Google, you can check what the Aburi Accord is about. You'll find out. Thank God you have a mobile phone. You can go online, whichever browser. Ask AI, what is the Aburi Accord? They agreed. Let the different regional governors be in charge of their regions. Let Nigeria operate on a regional basis, with the regions controlling their natural resources, which was what the status was, what the issue, what Nigeria was standing on before January 1966. As a matter of fact, actually, before July 1966, not even January. Up until July 1966, the regions, were in charge of the natural resources in the regions, and then paid something to the center. Yeah, it wasn't Nigeria controlling. But unfortunately, oil got discovered, petroleum. And the person who went to Aburi to say, okay, we agree, let's go back and be a country, but federated, units of the same country. And people say, are you out of your mind? All the oil, where is the oil? It's those people that have the oil, petroleum. Instead, he went ahead and created 12 states to create confusion, destabilization. But at the same time, for those who say I will do it or did not, Awo went to jail because he ventured up north to tell the people of the Middle Belt that you can join any party you like. You are human beings. You have rights. You are free. And somebody said, who's somebody? It's Ahmad Bello and NPC. No, you can't come here. Politically. Awo was charged for coup, tried for coup, sent to jail for coup. Before 1966. He was in jail when that coup happened. The first one, the counter coup, he was in jail. He was in jail when the issue of Aburi, well, they had just probably been released around that time. And there was, no, create states, divide them, scatter them. The scattering hasn't stopped. Now, what people have not been, maybe have not been taken into account, maybe some people. There was a coup. There was a secession. Yes, by a Nigerian called Adakabo from the Niger Delta to create, to have the Niger Delta secede from the rest of Nigeria. Not Igbos, not Yoruba, not Niger Delta secede. Ojukwu, it was, that quashed that coup. They didn't handle it well as well. Just like many things that people have not handled well. But they're human beings. If they didn't handle things well, well, you, now that you know everything, why wouldn't you do things differently? The Niger Delta issues, which was their issue, had never been really addressed. I will show you how it has lingered till today in the bigger forms now. I grew up in Port Harcourt, River State. If you read Biafra, Lest We Forget, you'll find those narratives in there. To travel to see my grandparents in Umoba from Port Harcourt, it was mostly by rail, train. And as you journey, you will see, as you are leaving even from Port Harcourt itself, all along that route, for a long part of the journey, you will see gas flare, heavy fire, just flaring. They had terrible repercussions on the environment and the people who lived around those environments. People were making money. The people who lived around places where those monies were being made were not thought of, catered. When some of the companies make some kind of provisions, some people within those communities corner the provision that have been made, the people get nothing. Adakabo, no, this can't continue. Well, it was a coup, the secession, no, they arrested him. He became the first Tompolo and Asari Dokubo. How? The Federalists convinced him, if you join us, show us how to, whatever, we'll defeat the Igbos who vote. Afonja of the Niger Delta. Of course, he joined the Federalists, showed them around through the creeks. People are clapping for Third Marine Commando Benjamin Adekunle and whatever. Where did they know? Those are the guys who, okay, if there was unity, I'm not clapping for that war, but I'm just telling you stories that have nothing has changed. I knew a little bit about the creeks. That's why I mentioned to you that I grew up in Port Harcourt. I've shared with you how I was almost swept away by high tide when we went periwinkle picking that I didn't need. That we didn't need at home. But it was just children being children. But picking periwinkles, I'd wandered far into the marshes on low tide. So when the high tide, is not that the wave will come, no, it starts welling up from the swamps, welling up before you know what's happening. Where you were standing that you thought was solid become mushy. You can't move. To move with God saved me. Let me not say no. And when I got back home, I heard it from my sister because she had to hear what happened eventually. So I understood the match. So if you didn't grow up around there, and from historical records, the federal troops had problems until they had somebody or some people who could say, no, don't go here, go there. They recruited those people, settled them, not the communities. So fast forward the 80s and the early 90s, Ken Saro-Wiwa. No, what's happening here is not good. It's not good. They're making all the money. The oil companies are settling the, community leaders. Okay, we've given the communities what they should get. No, community members say we are not saying. The youth got angry and attacked their community leaders, who the states and people that had business interests in those areas were settling. Meanwhile, neglecting the communities. Unfortunately, people were killed. Ken Saro-Wiwa was a military regime. Ken Saro-Wiwa and the Ogoni 9, including himself, they were murdered. The same thing that ails the judiciary today. Well, it was a military tribunal, so was it the judiciary? I don't know. Should they have been tried in the military tribunal? Should they have been? I don't think so. Now, thereafter, the Niger Delta militants, it was all over. CNN, all heavy weaponry, kidnappings, but they did not kidnap. It was the oil. I'm not saying kidnapping is good. I'm not saying any form of banditry or criminality is good. No, but I'm describing what happened. They will kidnap oil workers, expatriates, and demanding ransom and all of that. They did not leave the Niger Delta to expand into some other states, some other communities, and made kidnapping a national vocation. No. Then the federal government, the center, the businessmen at the center came up with the idea of amnesty. The reason why I'm going this route and maybe looking like I'm wasting your time is the people up north were watching what was happening. So if it is by way of criminalities and banditry and all of that they can go. But it wasn't exactly the way it started. It was politics to gain office, recruited thugs. All of them have thugs. All of them. All of the politics, they have thugs. You arm your thugs, arm thugs for election victory and purposes. After the elections, you abandon the thugs. The thugs have weapons now. They use the weapons because you are not paying them. They don't have jobs, but they have arms. They face the populace. Criminality expand. The people in the north were saying it. Yes, there had always been. Matasine was there. The government of the day dealt with that issue. There was some uprising too in the Niger Delta in a place called Odi. The government of General Obasanjo dealt decisively. Some people say he's heavy-handed and all of that. is to let you know, look, you do not kill Nigerian security personnel and get away. But what's happening now? No dread, no fear, no consequence, no accountability for doing. That's what has changed. The Nigerian military leveled a town, a community called Odi in Delta State over the loss of life of some Nigerian security personnel. That went to do well, legitimate as it were. But that legitimacy, like I've said, people in government use non-government actors to perpetrate certain criminalities. Those people they recruited that are not state actors that perpetrate those criminalities know that, oh, this is possible. They organize and begin to do those things on their own, including oil bunkering. In the same environment that no jobs, no infrastructural development, no help, well, infrastructure generally, and you have youths that you have armed to say, do this for me. If they can do it for you, they will soon start asking, why can't we do it for? How did Boko Haram start? However, the other one started, that's what started. They saw, this is possible, this is working, so we too can start our own. And use whatever. If you check the hottest terrorism, banditry hotspots in Nigeria, you will find out that there are different types of mining, illegal mining activities going for one form of natural resource or the other in those environments. So those things are cover-ups, first of all, to maybe scare the community members. Well, your community members can't scare me with, this is my land, this is where I was born. But what you hear is farmer herder, Christian Muslim, unscrupulous, greedy Nigerians and their foreign partners are mining illegally resources and killing Nigerians for that. Double jeopardy. They don't have infrastructure, they have nothing for what they have in their land, yet they lose their lives. If you can connect the dots, don't take my word for it. I want you to watch the next video. At least you will recognize the person. If you are not a Nigerian, well, I will tell you his name afterwards. But if you are Nigerian or people who should be following Nigerian stories, those are part of the settled Niger Delta militants that had been equipped now to be a major problem, a major warlord in the southeastern part of Nigeria. Call it south-south or what, the southeastern part of Nigeria. So I want you to listen to him. Watch the next video. We'll come back, and if you don't know his name, I will help you up front. Listen to Asari Dokubo. Listen to him, what he says about oil bunkering. And then why is he speaking? He told you why he's speaking. So listen to that video. Let's watch the video.
They should go and ask him, he's not dead. The president that they talk about, when I talk to president, since they don't want, make we keep secret. The press conference, the president tell me to go talk to press. Asawana. He don't tell me to talk anything, but he say, talk to the press. Now I talk to the press. I talk to the press. If they ask me the root cause of bunkering for you, I don't know if he talk. The people when they do the bunkering, I don't know if he call them.
Why not? Why not? So
make I go there and say, Nah, a job boys they do bunkering. Nah, Ikwere boys they do bunkering. No Goni boys they do bunkering. Nah, lie. Don't be job boys they do bunkering. All the bonfire depot them. Now people wait there for army. Now they pay them, let them go to the thing. They collect their home, they give the people peanuts. Everybody knows it. Because we are afraid. Because people are afraid, say they go do coup.
Is not my words, not my revelation. Is how did Nigerian military get to become oil bunkering financiers or operators? Joint task force to protect your pipelines. Military personnel were bribing to be sent to be, detailed to be in the JTF, Joint Task Force in the Niger Delta. They will pay bribe to be sent there. Why? Then, why is Asari Dokubo talking? A couple of episodes ago, we said he was complaining that they've not paid him for how many months? Is it 40 months or 44 months? Paid you for what? They paid him to go to the front. Which front? Southeast. Killing young men and women for nothing. Contriving, which Nigerian army has taken over itself. Nigerian army is going there, raising dust that's not there. IPOB, ESN, it's not there. That guy, Asari Dokubo, is one of their main contractors. I will show you a picture. In Nigeria, I know. I won't say more than I know. I know. You want to own a gun, you can own a gun in Nigeria, but you can only own a gun. You can only, of course, there are so many processes that you have to, well, like most things, it depends on, it has to be somebody to own a gun in Nigeria. Officially, that's what I mean, to get a license. And even when you do get that gun, what you get is a cartridge, double barrel gun, not military grade. So even in environments where vigilantes were formed, in, well, housing estates, communities, then the committees, managing such vigilante groups can only acquire double barrel guns for them, not military grade weapons. So who gave these guys military grade weapons? I will show you a picture. And you saw Asari Dokubo in that video now. Maybe you will recognize somebody in that picture. The caption of that picture says, Ijaw girls. Ijaws are Asari Dokubo's people in the Niger Delta. Militia carrying girls, females. So that's just the female arm, I think I should suppose, carrying AK-47. The person whose back is to the picture, does it look familiar? That's Asari Dokubo. Is a Nigerian, like some people have created a warlord. Get this straight. In the southern flank, I don't want to bring any religious connotation to this and all of that. Like I've said, they're all just using religion as cover. What's he protecting for them? It's not their investment, because this was what the military stole, shared amongst their friends and themselves. I have already shared on this in an episode how General T.Y. Danjuma granted a very long and detailed interview about how he sold his oil block oil well for $1 billion. This was around 2009, 2010. The reports, go check. I think it was all the newspapers carry, but this the particular paper I read it from was Punch, Nigerian Punch. And I have spent 500 million. I still have 500. I'm thinking of what I'm going to do. He's not from the Niger Delta. He didn't spend any money to acquire that oil block or oil well. No. If you, simple, ask Google, ask AI. Who are the owners of oil wells, oil blocks in Nigeria? You will see mostly northern names, mostly traditional rulers in the north. Go check the background of those traditional rulers. Mostly retired security officials. Now, that is one part of the Niger Delta. I will play a short, I'll just tell you a short story and play a short video. I'm not going to play all of it, because to understand this whole issue of the link between infrastructure, okay, while all these people are keeping guarding pipelines, they're not guarding pipelines for Nigeria. If they're guarding pipelines for Nigeria, you will not be buying petrol for how much you're buying it. Dangote will still not have to be buying petroleum, importing petroleum to be refined in his factory, in a refinery that's in Nigeria. So the people who are talking of scam, find something else to do your podcast on. Stop insulting our intelligence, please. Stop disrespecting my pain and the pains of the families that lost members, lost fortunes, lost their lives. They're alive, but they lost their life. They're breathing, but they have nothing. Because not everybody that was able to get up and get going. Wasn't everybody? Don't understand. Yet, they managed to, the Igbos, I'm saying, managed to drag themselves up somewhere, managed to reintegrate themselves by themselves. Yet, what are you still doing to them? What's this guy doing in jail? I've said it several times. I don't like his style. But all of us cannot speak the same way. We cannot behave the same ways. You've kept him in prison for political reasons. Deny him his right for political reasons. And by extension, because you picked some of his kinsmen too, just like you picked the people in the Niger Delta, settle them with one appointment, one post, one thing or the other, and they are clapping for you. I don't necessarily mean about the present administration. These guys met what's on ground. The only thing that has changed is that the person there now, the present administration, the president of Nigeria right now, is not there for anybody. He's there for only himself. That's the difference. Because he has studied their phone books and seen that there's no patriot anywhere. So he himself had told you he doesn't believe in one Nigeria. So I don't know. I really don't know what you were expecting. We shouted enough. This guy is a disaster waiting to happen on Nigeria, like Buhari. Nobody listen. Because you live in the moment. You are talking about he wants to turn Nigeria into a one-party state. You didn't see the samples, shelved samples for 20-something years. That is living sample. How many states have ruled Lagos State since 1999? How many states? That was your sample. He's been ruling Lagos State since 1999. Is who he says goes there that goes there. So that was what he was always going to try to do with Nigeria. People are complaining about the taxation and all of that. One of his master stroke in Lagos was tax and the alpha beta story and all of that. Deny it or is there. So which magic were you expecting he was going to do? He was going to try to turn Nigeria into Lagos. They said it to you in several ways. No, so I will not dwell too much on that. Next episode, when we talk about the media and infrastructure, and the electorate, we'll talk a bit more about him. But let's come back to the whole issues of infrastructure and the natural resources. I'm saying what you see happening in the northern part of Nigeria, go check. Most of those banditry situations, there's the religious part of it, which they have used as a cover. That's not the main reason. It's the exploitation of natural resources illegally. What's the reason for which Matawale was said to have been building a house for Bello Turji, a terrorist? Who mined gold that said, well, it belongs to Zamfara, doesn't belong to. So where is that gold from? How did they mine it? What's happening to the people in the communities around those mines? So you begin to understand these things. So you don't keep running with. Now, if it is the military that is responsible for oil bunkering in the Niger Delta, how are you expecting insurgency and banditry to end in Northwest or Northeast or North Central? Who has been sent to go and counter them? The military. So some of them have learned something in the Niger Delta. They have become businessmen. Okay? So the same way they have hired Pompolo to guide, the same way they have hired Bello Turji, that is what they are, the ones informing against themselves, revealing secrets, security secrets, details that have gotten generals killed. Is the same reason for some of them are speaking from both sides of their mouth. Somebody is a prodigal son, the other one is my family members. You need to understand this thing. Yet, nobody is talking. When Nigerians have said, please keep your please, let's just keep our lives. Because Nigerians have gotten up to the point where, now, I want you to watch this video. Then I'll tell you the story, but just listen to this video.
I told you guys that I'll be explaining to you in details what led to the buying of Eze Paulinus Ekwueme, who was unalived on Friday in Imo State by unknown gunmen. No one should be taking laws into their hands. If you suspect or think someone have done something wrong, report it to the police. But at the same time, people like Eze Ekwueme was paid by the monsters he made. Eze Ekwueme was paid in his own coin. Eze Ekwueme have actually paid many people just like that. Eze Ekwueme is a traditional ruler of Ochia. Ochia is a community in Awara. Awara is inside Ohajiebema local government area in Imo State. You see, Awara have a refinery called Watersmith. Watersmith is a modular refinery. Watersmith is the largest of its kind in the whole of Nigeria, if not the whole of West Africa. Is in Awara. And Eze Paulinus Ekwueme is a traditional ruler of a community inside the same Awara. Now, Asa gets about 2 gas plants. There's about 2 gas plants in Asa. Yeah? You see, Asa, Awara, Obile, they are just like this. A very small place. You see, these 3 communities or these 3 villages I mentioned, they have refinery and they have not just 1 gas plant. They have more than 1 gas plant. So people like Eze Paulinus Ekwueme, when Watersmith and all those gas plants wanted to come and, start drilling and, build their refinery, they needed the land, not just.
I said we're not going to play the whole of the video. It's an unfortunate incident, like many other unfortunate incidents, but the other noise, situations around the country have seemingly swallowing this up, but it's significant. Why is it significant? It's the same story. Imo State is in the top 10. Imo State, Southeast Nigeria, is in the top 10 globally, not in Africa, top gas reserves in the world, natural gas reserves. Ohajiegbe local government, sits at the center of that reserve, or that reserve sits in the soil of Ohajiegbe local government. Now, if you know about the Ken Saro-Wiwa story, this wouldn't have been different from the Ken Saro-Wiwa story. The only difference now is that this is the civilian, regime. The Ken Saro-Wiwa's issue was during a military regime. So the military, we still don't know how this will play out. There are gas plants within that local government, within the community, specific communities in that local government, the refinery, I think 2 gas plants or so. If you could check for that video online, it's readily available. Okay. But when I researched the story and researched the issue, of course, I've known about the issue of Ohajiegbe even before the gas issue. The flaring that we are talking about, the gas flare that I said from childhood, we didn't know anything. We just see fire. It doesn't end. It keeps burning. It's like the burning bush in the Bible that Moses saw, but the grass was not burning. So that's the gas flaring. That's what it looks like. So from childhood, I knew about that whole area. I had relations after the Civil War that went to do contracts in those areas, the oil, refinery and supply things and all of that. So Ohajiegbe had always been in. Now, fast forward to today. So gas companies, needed land. Land is government, but government has representative, community has representative. There's a traditional ruler of that particular environment. Monies were paid by the gas companies for the land, and of course for development related contributions, because natural gas or crude oil exploration devastates the environment. Some of the companies actually make some kind of contribution, but those contributions always end up in the hands of so the infrastructure that is supposed to be developed for the people, at least to assuage some of the sufferings they're going to go through, never happen. It ends up in the pockets of government officials and traditional rulers. That was what happened in Ken Saro-Wiwa's case. It's not copy it or photocopy direct. That's the idea, the general idea. So this traditional ruler is a Kweme. Trouble burst some few years. He ran away and left Nigeria and went to live in the US. And they were still sending him his share of whatever the oil companies, and community had nothing. Meanwhile, he recruited boys, thugs, armed them to confront anybody who spoke out, who asked questions. Like you saw in part of that video, he is reported to have had people killed, even while living in the US. And the story goes that somewhere along the line, the boys he recruited and armed stopped sending him whatever his own share was, and say he had to come home to come, as alleged in the reports I've read. And he came, I think, ostensibly for a wedding ceremony for somebody, and then now decided to, King, you are ruling from America when you are not the president of Cameroon. So it was alleged that he now traveled to his community from where he went to attend the wedding. And allegedly too, the boys he had armed, he had trained, he has recruited, who had been collecting whatever his share and not sending to him again, are said to be not unknown. You see, this whole thing of unknown gunmen, unknown soldier, unknown gunmen, to give the dog a bad name to hang him. These issues have root causes. What I've read, not in one story, not in one video, not even just only that one, is the people that he trained, he had hired, that burnt his car, and unfortunately, he lost his own life in the process, and some other people's life that were with him. Was that right? No. Whatever the grievances were, either you'd have apprehended him, take him to the police, or go to court, or whatever. But then, who is the police siding? What do law courts say in Nigeria? But now, what you are talking about is unknown. That's what's the mainstream media supported, unknown gunmen. No, that's not the story. We'll come to media and the electorate in the next episode. So, it is a recent, if you like, the most recent in the southern part of Nigeria, of the creation of warlords, arming warlords. And when we talk, we've been talking so much about infrastructure. Well, everything is infrastructure. But when you do not use funds that accrue from God, what God has blessed the people with, that you that stand in a place as a leader, you do not use such resources to at least do some things that will benefit the people will revolt at some point. That's Sohajegbema, right? The people in the Northeast, the people in the North, I'm not clapping for them. It's Nigerian businesses, not state actors that are doing illegal mining, in a lot of cases that have armed those people that are killing Nigerians. And we're talking terrorism, bandit, Islamization, and all. Of course, they're happy. They're happy that you call it that. They're under the radar of all of those. So they're actually happy to fund those things, to make them endless, so you don't turn attention to them. If in terms of infrastructure, the electricity is probably the biggest infrastructural challenge that Nigerians have. You saw a video by the current president that when he was campaigning to say, if I don't give you electricity, he said, somehow, anyhow, by all means necessary. I'm not his fan, but have never been, because whoever is clapping for him, he was always going to be bad news for Nigeria. From the unity viewpoint, there's nothing about him that unifies anybody except those who are sycophants to him. From time, if you don't know him, you don't know him. That he's giving you food, is giving you, that's the reason for which you start clapping for him. No, Nigeria is giving you, is what they have taken from Nigeria that they're giving you. From where? Where? What have most of them done that you haven't done and not got and gotten nothing? So when you see intelligent people clapping for people who are dubious, to say the least, you wonder there's something fundamental is wrong with everybody. But then, the people who are marketing him to are clueless. I have said it severally. We'll talk more about them next episode, media and electorate. We have the people who they've been using in the Lagos media from whatever time to whatever time, who started an answer Google. And you think that they will actually translate to Google, not just Google. When they have opportunity now, what are they doing? They're just behaving like area boys and touts. Even in those exalted positions of decision making and policy making or policy implementation, if there's any policy except just hoodwink the people. But he did something right. I'm talking in terms of electricity. But the people who are marketing him, they're clueless, except they're going to be lying against themselves about what they have said before, which their brains have switched with something else, and and they're lying against themselves to protect somebody else. I think it was just about 6 or so months after he came into power that the electricity deregulation bill also, I think that's what it's called, was signed. That was massive. That is massive. So they are not even talking about it as much as they should, as, a solution to the electricity challenge. It is a major solution. When he said he's going to give you electricity, when are Nigerians going to stop expecting the federal government to solve all your problems? No, it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. The province I live in, the city I live in, we don't pay a dime for water. You don't pay water rate in Quebec. If you like, flood your whole apartment with water. Well, it's you that know how you're going to drain it and clean it. You don't pay for water. But water is made available. Because you're not paying for it, it's not the reason why it should not be available. What is available? It's not the government of Canada. It's the government of the province of Quebec. It's not the same in all other provinces in Canada. So let's get that straight. So they deregulated electricity and made it possible for even you as an individual business person that can think, that can come up with things. Everybody is looking at going to the center and being appointed something and do nothing and collect something at the end of the month. That's the problem. As it stands, but from what I've seen in that bill, you can start your own power generation company. For, of course, following the due processes and distributing it, generating, distribute, to collect your money. People would have to, yes, is it the government? When an NPC had mega stations, how much of it works? In most cases. But people have petrol stations serving other people. So think that way. When telecom licenses were given, smaller businesses in smaller housing estates in some cities developed, products, internet service products, phone service within those estates. But yeah, you might not call out, but you can call yourself within people. But the important thing is the enabling environment is there. I said government is there to create enabling environment. They have created this one. State government now had, I remember one of the major problems the current president had with President Obasanjo in those days was the issue of generation of power. And the federal government said, no, you cannot generate power. That was major tussle between the president now and President Tinubu that time, the Lagos State government then. But he has done that one. So clap for him. He's a president. I keep saying it, regardless of how he got there. He's not the president. So let's look at what is he doing with the opportunity. He's done that one right. State government, why is Abia having electricity? I think there are two states, because Abia and Enugu or Ebonyi, one of those two. And I think I saw Ekiti. I have not confirmed that. I have confirmed. So state government can generate and distribute and market the power they generate. Not like before, yes, you can generate it, but you have to now turn it to. So it doesn't make sense to continue to talk about national grid collapsing and all of that. And from that perspective, the whole issue, the whole noise about Aso Rock going off the national grid and linking, I don't, yeah, it's symbolic. They're remaining on the national grid should be symbolic because it should put, but they have made it possible for states to also go off. The more states that go off national grid to generate their own electricity, the easier. It doesn't stop the federal one to be made better. But there is a structure on ground. There is an enabling document that would get, even if a local government can generate electricity, yes, generate for your local government, distribute, collect money. Stop talking about the power holding companies and all of that. You're a businessman. Think about how to go to your community and generate power and distribute it. Yes, the technologies are available for you to do that. So electricity is a big problem in Nigeria. Just think about what Nigeria was when it was NITEL, Nigeria External Telecommunications Limited. I think that was the name. To make external calls then, even if you had a phone in your house, it wouldn't work. Most times you'd have to go queue. I went severally when I had international calls to make in Ikeja in Lagos. You go to NITEL and queue up, take number. We lived through that. And then 1999 happened. somewhere from that point, mobile telephone companies were given licenses. Where is Nitel today? What happened to Nitel could happen to NEPA, whatever name they're called, if business people woke up to the challenge of the generation and distribution of electricity in Nigeria. Yes. They have put the document in place to help you do that. So do that. And then you guys that call yourselves gurus and experts surrounding the government, presidency, find some useful ways to market. You've turned everything into politics. That makes sense. Talk performance. Not I didn't have this, I didn't, now I have. We've been saying it. You have everything in your pocket, but how are you using the things you have in your pocket for the benefit of people? That's the problem. Performance. That's the problem. Infrastructure. You are in charge of natural resources, which you've continued to say on this program, this live stream, this podcast, is linked to the issue of having a referendum, taking Nigeria back to, regional governance and returning control. It's going to be difficult because all of those people, all of those emirs, all of those people, retired military officers who have oil blocks and oil well, they will never want that to happen. But then you must have the political will to bring that to happen. They have made enough money of the people's sufferings and hardships. They have made enough. If in how many years? If in about 50 years, they've not learned how to invest, which they are not anyway, really. The monies that Nigerians have died for, that they have made in the course of their making it, if they have not been able to find ways to now make their own money from those, and then let the natural resources return to the communities in which, through the regional administrations, you would have solved the problem largely of the insecurities. It's linked to all of this. That's why I brought up the issue of killing, the death of Eze Ekweme. That's why I brought it up on this program. It's not to clap, it's to say this is a pattern that's been going on. But the pattern now of confronting your oppressors, that's a new trend. It might likely spread. Young people are angry. They are hungry. They are jobless. And you have armed them. They've started responding from the north. Just that they are still listening to you, killing innocent people. They will turn to you. They will turn on you. Eze Kweme's death should be a warning, should be to any, from the presidency to local government chairman to councillors to traditional rulers. Yes. Nigerians are hungry, they are angry. Worse, they are not even safe to go to farm their vegetable and eat ordinary vegetable and maybe look for salt to put inside it. They can't even do those anymore. They can't go to the market to go and buy the salt. However, they get the money to buy it. They can't. You go to the market, it's either bomb land on your head or they kidnap you on the way and ask you to go and bring millions out. Where if you have millions, would you be eating only vegetable? No. That's a problem. That's a problem. So I'm going to play you at this point our video for this episode, and I will thereafter drop my Biafra story installment for this episode. And thereafter, we take contributions from community members and we'll call it a day. So don't go away, please. This is still Say Prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. And Nigeria is happening to all Nigerians in plain sight. So those who are saying, what are you even saying? Can't you find something good to say about Nigeria? You don't love Nigeria. You don't understand what love for Nigeria means. You don't. Love for Nigeria means that you are sitting on the table. That's what makes you feel you love Nigeria better than other people. Some of us have been in these trenches for all of our adults' life, even from childhood, to stand up to say, this is not right. I've had every opportunity to be in the front row of the collection and the looting. I chose not to. It's not for lack of opportunities or lack of learning or lack of qualifications. No. It's a personal choice. And we all have to come out that have made those, because it's not only me. There are plenty Nigerians, but unfortunately, our sitting back and keeping quiet has not worked. Why do you have miscreants as leaders and rulers of Nigeria today? Because, okay, politics is for thugs. And, okay, so the thugs have taken over. So sit down there. Somebody said that to me several years ago, and it got me thinking. But it put me in a different kind of trouble. Maybe I will have the mind to share that when we talk about media and the electorate next episode. I probably would. So we can't continue to keep quiet, whoever you are. It's not all of us that are made to lead in political positions. No. We're all leaders in different. It's also not all of us that are meant to lead in anything anyway. Some are leaders, followers, yes. But time has come. If you say you don't like somebody's style, I've told you I don't like Nnamdi Kanu's style, but is that why he should be in jail? No. He's kept there politically. And from what has happened to others, like Sunday, they've been bargaining, trying to offer this, offer that. Igbos are very buyable, Abi. So why have you not been able to buy him out of that prison? Bribe him out of that? Why? It's not everybody. Regardless of how crude he has been in his ways and approaches, there's a fundamental issue. There are fundamental issues. He didn't raise them. He didn't create them. He failed to address them. Kweme failed to address them in his own community. The mother of Sarawiwa hasn't solved it. The creation and funding of people like Asari Dokubo, Tompolo in the night hasn't. The people who funded and started Boko Haram and all whichever other ones that they have, he has created more problems. He has given people who are not even involved in those things, who have nothing to do with those, to say that, oh, okay, so if we go and get guns and we have group, so we can just enter one community, go one area. Yeah. Yes. You license a group, which is also illegal anyway. It gives others communities, states, ethnic nationalities, oh, we too can do this. More so when some of the mouthpieces are saying you should not do this for this group so that they can have their own share. So what stops men in the southwest of Nigeria, in the southeast of Nigeria, in the south of Nigeria, to start having children indiscriminately and just spread them on the street so that the federal government can start paying them as well. When is this street talk going to end? It will make all of us look like jokes, laughing stocks to the world. We have children that you don't. I'm a parenting coach. I have several books on parenting. I run a parenting program. I have a parenting institution that focuses on parenting. You don't have children that you don't plan to take care of. My father sent me to school. I sent my own children, despite whatever difficulties. I shared in the last episode how the Osawoku community and several other communities around there, despite the effect of the Civil War, managed to, through communal efforts, send their children even outside Nigeria to study. Not federal scholarship, not nothing. Communal efforts. All you do is entitlement mentality. Entitlement, the federal government should do this. And that is why I will continue to appeal to this administration. I don't like the president. He's not the right person for Nigeria from day one to day two to tomorrow. Because he's been very divisive. Or before he became the governor of Lagos State, people in Lagos, they didn't know where anybody came from. That's another story, so I don't want to go back to that. We've run episodes on that. Okay? So he cannot unify Nigeria. If you cannot unify Nigeria, unify by unify. There's no time everybody is going to agree. No country. There's no country that is only one set of people and they agree with themselves at every time. No. But there have to be structures in place that people can resort to when things need to be resolved, which is why you have a National Assembly, which is why you have oppositions, which is why you do not reach out to kill opposition, pocket judiciary, pocket legislature, pocket media. It can't work. You're working against yourself. At the end of the day, nobody is going to live forever. So I'll play you the video we produced for this episode, and then I'll tell you my Biafra story, take your comments and your questions, and then we'll call it a day. Thank you. Watch the video. Thank you.
50 years after the Biafra War that nearly destroyed it, Nigeria's leadership is still asking its citizens to survive a country that has never fully chosen to work. Dr. Richie Adewusi warned about the current situation in Nigeria in his book, Biafra, Lest We Forget. Please scan the QR code on screen to get your copy. What he wrote in the book's first edition in 2010 about governance, accountability, and citizen responsibility still connects with chilling accuracy to Nigeria today. Please watch to the end, subscribe, and do not miss the next video. Dr. Richie Adewusi did not just recall the horrors of the Biafra War, he used them to warn about the present. He observed that politicians were not accountable to the electorate because it was not truly the electorate's votes that put them in office. Merit had been replaced by parochialism, and citizens had become detached from governance, convinced politics was someone else's business. His warning was clear: the same conditions that existed before the Biafra War were quietly returning. This time, a conflict of that scale would be far worse. In 1966, only the military had weapons. That was no longer the case in Nigeria. In 2010, talk less of 2026. Like the Biafra War, many of these tensions are driven by struggles over Nigeria's plenteous natural resources. Nigeria has always been rich in resources, yet most citizens are cut off from the benefits. The country sits on vast oil and gas wealth, but stable electricity remains a daily struggle for most households and businesses. The current administration promised constant electricity within 4 years, in 2023. Now, 3.5 years in, it has disconnected the State House, Aso Rock, from the national grid and moved to solar power. This signals disregard for the people's welfare and clear incompetence. Beyond electricity, roads in many parts of Nigeria are difficult to navigate. Healthcare facilities are overstretched and under-equipped, and public services struggle to meet the needs of a growing population that is presently said to be about 250 million and counting. This is what a culture of lack of accountability produces. The Nigerian people continue to suffer, often smiling through the pain, eternally hoping for the better, as fella Anikulapo Kuti described in his 1977 song, Shuffering and Schmiling. Born in Abeokuta in 1938, Fela was a composer and activist who used Afrobeat to reflect and expose Nigeria's reality. The song captures a people weighed down by hardship their leaders were shielded from, yet conditioned to endure. Nearly 5 decades later, the situation continues to decline.
Every day my people they inside bus. Every day my people they inside bus. 49 sitting, 99 standing. Them go pack themselves in like sanding. Them they faint, them they wake like cock. Them go Richie house water no day. Them go Richie bed power no day. Them go Richie road go slow.
There is a way forward for Nigeria and Nigerians. Credible voter registration, real voter education, and citizens who refuse tribal and religious distractions are key starting points. Infrastructure investment must be removed from political patronage and placed under transparent, accountable systems. The electricity sector needs urgent structural reform, not more promises. Every Nigerian who believes governance is someone else's business must understand what Dr. Richie Adewusi understood. Standing in the ruins of the Biafra War, by the time it becomes your business, it may already be too late. Thank you for watching. Please share this video with everyone who cares about Nigeria's development and well-being. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next video. Our full live streams are available on at May Nigeria Never Happen to You. May Nigeria happen for all Nigerians, and for friends of Nigeria.
Thank you so much for watching that video. Like we said, you could always download, share, please, to other people who would not have had the opportunity to join us today or any other time. And all of our videos are available at our YouTube channel, May Nigeria Never Happen to You. Or you could just go to Richie Adewusi TV. You'll find all of our channels, even for the podcast for other issue areas, especially parenting issues. Okay, so we're saying, okay, you could still support us. Not too long ago, we made a video to thank those of you who have subscribed. When we crossed the 100 subscriber base, we almost had the 1,000 subscriber base now. So we're going to make another video to thank you guys. So please, if you are subscribed, thank you. If you've not, kindly subscribe. We are here for serious business. Okay, no sentiments, no abuses, no. Sometimes I could get a little bit emotional. Yeah, it's a passion about what this is about. Nigeria has to be better. It's not about anybody. It's not, unfortunately, we have to discuss individuals. We have to reference individuals. Yes. So if you do well, like the electricity thing that they did well. Why are you not picking it up? Why are most states not investing in electricity? Why is everybody talking about national grid? Okay. And then the presidential aides, advisors, whatever they call, they are only interested in political gutter talks. Lack any kind of professionalism in talking about marketing, the person that is political statements that end up creating problems for their principal than solving anything. The military did not succeed in ramming things down the throat of Nigeria. So if the military did not succeed in doing that, what gives you the impression or the confidence that as a civilian administration, you are going to tell Nigeria, this is what I'm going to do, take it or leave it? Okay. The president must do 8 years like somebody else. Okay. It's the voters, right? And because you've concluded that you perfected whatever, I'll come to that next episode. Let me not get ahead of myself. Okay? All right. Please support our documentary project for the production of Biafra Let's Forget. Like we said, we've launched a GoFundMe campaign. Okay. You find the QR code for that GoFundMe campaign on the screen. Kindly just donate. I'm determined to produce that documentary, this book, Biafra Let's Forget documentary, because, of course, most of us find it more convenient now to watch pictures than, and then producing that documentary helps me to breathe life to some of the issues that are just stories in the book itself. But then if you also, want, you could kindly just, pick your own copy. The QR code for the book itself is also online on the screen. You can scan it and get a copy. To support this program, I would appreciate you supporting me. Okay, thank you so very much. Whether you donate to the GoFundMe campaign or you pick up a copy of Biafra Lest We Forget, it's about the same thing. It will help me to produce the documentary. Okay, so thank you for doing that. Besides, you know more. Yes, this is not, it's not fiction. It's my eyewitness account as a child that experienced that war, and should also get you to do everything in your power to say Nigeria should not go this way again ever. But it's not looking likely, because the politicians think that they are playing politics, just politics. It's just a game. It's not a game. This time, 1966, they thought they were playing a game. This is April. The January coup had happened. Some people thought they were in charge around now, between January and July. And then in July, madness was unleashed. And Nigeria hasn't been the same ever since. 60 years ago. This same time. That's why I wrote that book, Biafra, Lest We Forget. Meaning, let's not do this again, please. In case we forgot that these things happened. It's not a book about, IPOB, no. IPOB was not born when I wrote this book. I wrote this book in 2010. The first edition of it was released January 2011. And painfully so. A lot of the things I cautioned about in it have already happened now. You hear they are prodigal sons to release them, but you are setting bad examples. You are telling others nothing works anymore, no structures anymore. It's what I see. It's what must happen. Bad precedent, very bad precedent. Okay. All right. Now, I think that the last episode, I got a little bit ahead of myself talking about arriving in Lagos and all of that. But no, by the time we returned to more about my mom, my mother, uh, city boys, we became village boys. This one now, not the joke that's going on now. We went from living in Port Harcourt, living, you know, if you like, comfortably. If you had children in 1966 that owned bicycles, that gives you an idea. I think I can't find any of mine. Now, my younger brothers, they are twins. I think I have a picture of them on their bicycle. You know, the one that has a carriage, because they are twins now. One is sitting in the peddler's seat, the other one is in passenger seat. Yeah. I think if your parents were able could buy you a bicycle in 1966, it tells you a little bit of who they might be. We went from there and ended up in a village, living, I told you the story, started last episode, in a mud house that our mother had built in Osao village, of one room, a kitchen, and a veranda. I found a picture of myself much years later eating from my mother's kitchen. I'm going to show it to you next episode. You know, in one of the many pilgrimages we had to make every festive season, the West went to visit her because she never lived in the city again after the Civil War. Same with a whole lot of people. This is a city dweller, had to now live in the village, farm, do other businesses in the village till she passed. My mother lived to be 102 years old. We'll show you her pictures next week. Not like showing off or whatever, but it's a story, it's real, so that you understand where all of this madness that we're talking about now as if they are not related. They are related. They are related. People arming bandits, arming political thugs because they want to win elections. Political thugs transited to become bandits, become terrorists. They are pipeline contractors. They remember, they are in the creeks. Yeah? They're in the creeks, they're in the waterways. Who is checking them to see what kind of arms and ammunition that they are buying, that they're stockpiling? Who? You've seen the militia of a private Nigerian, AK-47, a militia. Because today, well, he's falling out with his friends in government little by little. If not so, he will make that video to say, I will not talk. It's the military that are doing oil bunkering. Some of the herdsmen carrying AK-47 have on some video. That is the government that gave them. So you see how the Nigerian government is fighting itself, fighting its own people, using the state resources to fight Nigerians without providing basic amenities. At least the most basic, I keep saying, is the safety of life and property. It failed woefully, 100% failure, because no one is safe. No one is safe. The infrastructure we're talking about, we got a time in a place in Nigeria where you are your own electricity company, your water corporation, like I said, in collaboration with others. But when it now came down to the issue of security, first firearm is not legal in Nigeria. And like I've also said, even if you had firearm, you're only permitted by law to have license for double barrel guns, pellets, and then you are confronting, it's like the Nigerian army, the complaint has been going on and the denials have been happening. And I have also shared a story here to let you see how those issues of inferior weaponry could have happened. Somebody took Nigerian generals to China, bought refurbished weapons, gave the generals money for shopping. That's in Nigeria. Yep. And they're all part of the people that say Nigeria is not safe, insecurity. You've created it. You're part of the mess. You called it business. It's a mess. I wonder how some of you sleep. Okay? So, we lived in that village. As it concerns me, as it affects me, or as it affected me, I am the fifth of my mother's children. The people after me are twins. I say people because they are two. They are twins. My immediate other brother and well, like I said, othermost brother that got shot was the manager, was working at the recreation club, Aba Recreation Club. Then, if you go to Aba Imo State, it's a very popular place, very high class, membership club before the Civil War, even after the Civil War. After the Civil War, he recovered from and went back. My family members, our sister stubbornly went back to Port Harcourt, started fighting for the abandoned property, went back to Port Harcourt and eventually got back and started building her own. We've lost her. Next episode, I will show you my sister Meg too. We lost her about 3 years ago, natural causes. Okay. My brother Sunny, I'm giving you a breakdown of what happened to real people. I mentioned earlier that nobody in the family understood what was going on. Nobody still understands today. And he was just, a representative of that group of young Nigerians who were never put into consideration in terms of rehabilitation, whether health-wise or skills or anything. My brother became, brilliant young man before the Civil War. But something else happened to that brilliance. Like I said earlier, which I didn't understand till some years ago. PTSD. How old was he? I narrated how, in the early days of the Civil War, the Biafra War, there was no conscription. There was no forced enlistment. They announced, come if you volunteer. People went, boys, girls went to go volunteer to join the Biafran army, training and all of that. He went, they didn't take him because he was small. So he returned and padded himself up, wore several pants, wore several tops, made himself look big, and went back and they recruited him. Our mother didn't know, nobody knew where he was until the day he returned after his training. Dressed up. What did we know? We were so happy that our brother is a soldier, came home with his rifle, starched uniform, shiny boots. from that young age, why I went describing that incident is what became of him. My brother didn't recover, hasn't recovered. I didn't understand it till not too long ago. Many families could not understand what happened to their family members. They were there, they didn't die, they were alive, but there was no provision for there were, of course, generally there were criminals now, there were Biafra soldiers, that's what they would be. So there was no provision for any health care support, not psychosocial support for them. Yet, the war was said to have ended, no victor, no vanquish. Even on the Nigerian side, is there anything to start with? Not to talk of, even till today. What is there for rehabilitating people who have been involved in service, military service in Nigeria? Not to talk of the people on the Biafra side. So I've seen what has happened to my brother. Even after the Civil War, he had things, you know, he was supported family, supported to go into one, supervise this, supervise that, work here, work there. There were problems that happened all of those times that I didn't understand till, and I could put a label to it, PTSD. And all the characteristics of someone with PTSD was what we were saying, but we didn't understand it. That would have happened to so many families. That would have happened to so many in so many organizations. That would have cost many lives. War. It has ended. In quotes. That's one of the reasons I keep putting that ended in quotes. The human beings who experienced that war, many of whom are still living, I'm one. Some of the older ones are still alive. My brother Sonny is alive. Our Adamu's brother is alive. He's in his early 80s now. The one that was shot. I will show you his picture next episode. But people had to pick their lives back up. As for me as an individual, the story, I say my Biafra story, because of my location or situation in the family tree, myself and the twins had to stay in the village with our mother because she didn't go back to the city, like you said. She became a farmer. I fell in love with farming, with growing things, putting things in and what they will nurture them. One of the pictures I will show you was my mother holding her first ever phone, I think is Nokia 3310. Then the tree behind her was one of the very first apple tree I planted. Each time I see that, I feel good. It's like a landmark. When we first arrived in that village, and I eventually started primary school in that village, it was one of my classmates that gave me the seed for that apple tree, and I got home, I planted it. I planted other things like cola nuts, cashew. I love to plant things. I got interested in planting things. That's what I did in the village. We come back from school, it is farm. Meanwhile, the school didn't start school. The war ended in 1970. They didn't get to start until about 1972 or so. Then you've lost how many years already in the war? So by that time, my cousins, even those who are younger than me, that were in the West, in Lagos, were ahead of me in school. Even the ones that were behind me had started school. You know? So war, there's no school. Yeah? Of everything my mother owned that she took from Port Harcourt and all of that to Mobile, none just her personal things, wrapper boxes and all of that. And even that, she was lucky because, like I said, the war, by the time the war finally got into Umoba, I mean, federal troops got into Umoba and all of that, it was a few days, and she was lucky too that, Nigerian's house where we lived and all, some of properties were not looted, like clothes, and my mother had a lot of expensive wrappers, Hollandies, George, things that women of her, yeah. And those are the things, some of the items that she used to help us. She sold the whole lot of her clothing to care for us after the Civil War. Not for no we system. I've told you the story of how she refused to go exchange her money for 20 pounds. She didn't. So that policy leveled everybody. No support, no, even the people who were made not, even after the war. So it's not story I was told. It's something I experienced, I saw, I lived through. Okay? It's something that happened, I experienced. Now you now ended up in school with people who are 10, maybe more years older than you in school, primary school. You sit in class, yes, it's like that. Some of them went to the war. So in terms of social dynamics and social relationships, it impacted on all of those. Children had to grow up with most of the people of most of the children of my generation around that time that grew up in the villages and all of that, most of them were stunted growth, nutrition. Yeah. Some of these children you see in these pictures, okay? The pictures you see there, emaciated. A lot of them didn't survive. Those who survived were stunted growth, nutritional challenges, no medical facilities, nothing. The world said to have ended, they go back and start struggle. You couldn't even go to the farm. There were mines, should I say popular or notorious Munigwe, where in some of the farmlands, people lost their lives. We had villagers within the village that they would go to farm. They were trying to harvest something or plant something, boom. And that's it. So people became afraid of going to the farm. Okay. Somehow, the government did well a little bit in that area. When such explosion did happen, there were people sent from somewhere. They would try to search to, unearth some of the, mines, land mines, the money where and they diffused. We saw a few, and they will be chasing us. Don't come, go. This is dangerous. Children, what do we know? I want to see what was happening. Luckily, well, nobody was hurt or harmed. Okay, and it's also within this same period that I lived in that village. Even before we started school or going to primary school, because I finished my primary school in that village, our South village. It's also in that village that I witnessed what youth could do when they decided to, or when they do decide to confront external aggression. I've shared the story of the headhunters. Yes, it's that period that I witnessed. The youth organized into groups. All the bush paths leading into the communities, different groups of youth would, put themselves in vantage positions. The season that they, headhunt. What's the headhunting? In case you don't know, in case you didn't watch that episode, there's a community in Iberi, or Ohafia, the senator that said his village doesn't have internet, or Juzokan, his people, they have age grades, and what they do to show that they have come of age is they send them out in groups and cohorts to come back with human heads to show, yes, they are men. That community where I grew up in was one of the places that they couldn't, don't go there. You go there, they won't go back alive. No guns, they didn't have guns. But there, they will catch them. They did catch them, and they won't go back. That practice died a natural death, because you can't practice it now. Okay? The youth in the community still have those, capacity to organize. So it is not, I brought this up here again because it's not that people are afraid they can't organize. I've said it severally. Nigerians, especially the Igbos, they are very law abiding. They just want peace. Contrary to what? But when you make that peace unavailable, they get themselves to protect themselves. That is what happened in the Civil War. Ojukwu did not start the Civil War. The Igbos did not start the Civil War. It's historical, so there's no need for me to waste time on it. Okay? So it became a myth. The Ngwa people eat human flesh, they are cannibals. No, this story is what brought that issue of they are cannibals up. You go to cut their heads, you won't go back with your own. They are capable of still doing that to whichever group, whichever tribe. In that same village, I witnessed cattle rearers with bows and arrows and just some stick, that's all. If their cows or goats they were rearing made errors to go into cultivated farmland, they will go to the head of that family, that head of that compound. The owner might not even know. They didn't even wait. They didn't wait for anybody to say, "Hey, come and see what." No, by themselves, they would go to the head of the community, that compound, to say what has happened, what the animals have done, and they will make amends. There was peace. There was no problem. Yes. So the issue of Fulani is Fulani. Which Fulani? What time? What cost? What is on ground now? Politicians radicalizing everything possible. They radicalized businesses. 419 came about. They radicalized youths in communities with resources. Bandits, vandals, terrorists came about. Politicians, they've not ended. I read somewhere the Senate president say it is because of elections are coming that the opposition is funding terrorists to kill people, to make things difficult. Come on, find something else to say. At the top of this program, if you go to check episode 1, episode 2 or 3, I stated that was August last year. I said, look, Nigeria is, by the time you are getting close to this election, Politicians would up killings because they themselves are confessed. When they come from here to go to another one, they will confess everything they did wrong when they were where they are trying to. So it's the same people, without exception. And they will do what they know. The difference is that because they were involved at the beginning of creating this mess, they know that the other side will do what they did. They haven't stopped. So that is why this next one, this season is very, very precarious for Nigeria. The person who is president is good at using thugs politically. They perfected it when they created APC. You had some of their senior members putting it on record that they imported terrorists for the election, 2015 or 2014 election. Why are they saying? Because they've crossed over to another parties. Has it changed anything? No. Is it still what's going on ground? Yes. The people that are carrying AK-47s in the Niger Delta, why are they carrying it? It's not just for pipeline. No. They're going to use to intimidate people during the elections. In that process, people will get killed. The person that is making noise now, making video, why? See me here, come and settle me. They give him money. He remains larger than life, untouchable, in spite of committing atrocities and treasonous speeches he's been making, divisive speeches, putting on record the killings of people. I'm killing, I will continue killing you. If I on this podcast mention that I've killed people, I'll continue to kill, what will happen? What will happen? So why is he untouchable? Because it's useful to some people. It's the same thing with the terrorists in the Northwest. It's the same thing with the terrorists in the Northeast. It's the same thing with the terrorists in the North Central, that even the Nigerian army is defending them and rehabilitating them and reintegrating them in the society. You see, Nigeria is messed up. All for what reason? Greed. Greed. Money, things that nobody is going to take anywhere. I lived in that village. My elder brothers went to school. My brother Sonny went back to secondary school. My immediate elder brother Promise went to secondary school. So by the time I finished primary school in the village, I still couldn't leave the village because, fortunately, by that time, my mother had become ill. It was some protracted periods of ailment, and I was about a little bit grown one. The twins were the last one, so I had to stay in the village for a while. All the tolls, all the stress that I'll take care of everything. At a point, the effects showed up on her body and her health. And I paid price for some of it. I stayed at home for 2 years with her, then going to school. After primary school, losing another how many years? Yeah. It's still the war. If the war hadn't happened, I would rather have continued in Port Harcourt or in Lagos. I would have continued my school. I wouldn't have been in secondary school till 20. Yeah. But I thank God. But I keep saying, I'm lucky. A lot of my friends, a lot of my family members, extended family members from the East were not that fortunate. It has trickled down to their own offsprings, to their generations after them, those families. But they've continued. But what do you pay them with? No infrastructure. The one that got there now, the present governor of Abia, a place like Abia that is there now, that is doing things that the people, is the people who will tell you if they want you, if you are working for them or not. Now in Nigeria, performance don't count anymore. It's toggery. It's show of force. And that's what you have sold, and you think there's going to be security. That can't be. Because you're not saying you're going to be president because of your performance. You're saying you're going to be there whether the people like it or not. And what are you saying? You're going to rig? You're going to kill people? There's going to be violence? And so how exactly are you planning to tackle insecurity in that kind of a scenario? How exactly are you planning to let people have the infrastructure that they need in place of the natural resources God has blessed them with? Yes, it's politics. You can opposite contend with, yes. Let there be free and fair election. Let the people choose who they want by reason of performance, by reason of these are the things I'm going to do, not I'm going to be king, whether you like it or not. It's not going to end well. A community member here says, could decentralization be the solution to Nigeria's electricity problem? I think it is. I think I've already said that that's been put in place already by this present administration, incidentally. But the state governments have not catched on it. The business people have not catched on. Dangote eventually, say like him, don't like him, say whatever. Even him, they did all, and they are still doing all to sabotage his efforts at building a private refinery in Nigeria. If Dangote could build a private refinery in Nigeria, why is every other person doing business just cashing in on the pains of the people and not do things that could help one way or the other? Look at the telecom services. I sent memos to some friends in the National Assembly, to some in the states, from governors to State House of Assembly members. Yes, I did, several years ago. Can you guys please look for a way to sponsor a bill to get the telecoms companies to transition from prepaid billing to postpaid billing? I enumerated the benefit that those could bring, from improved services to poverty elevation to job creation. The first thing somebody in the Senate told me was, Richie, look, this is not going to work. They will fight it. I say, yes, they will fight it. They are business people, but then find a buy-in for them. And I gave an example in that document that I sent them. I gave an example. When mobile phone services, we're talking about infrastructure now and natural resources, okay? Telecom services are no longer a luxury for anybody, anywhere in the world, not to talk of Nigeria. It's not luxury. It's not luxury. Essential. Both for business, if you like, and even leisure. Yep. Now, I gave an example. When telecom services were first introduced in Nigeria, it had Econet, it had MTN. Nigerians, of course, not like to compare things that are happening in that place. You're billing us per minute. Other places, they bill per second. And MTN had, I think their lowest recharge cards category, I think was either 500, I think 450 of, I think it was 500 or so. Okay? No, I think it was a Econet that was 500. I think it was 750. Okay? You could go and check. And that cry went on, some civil society, they said, no, it's not possible. Nigeria, that they can't do per second billing. They can't bill in seconds because the investment they made is too much. It's going to take like 5 years before they can transition to second billing. Something happened. Eventually, another telecoms company in Nigeria called Globacom got a license to operate. And Globacom started per second billing immediately, and you could recharge your phone or whatever for 50 naira. Then the people who said it would take 5 years quickly went to per second billing. They were forced to. Competition. I gave that example in that document. I said, it will save first of all, we're talking infrastructure here still. They don't care whether the services they're rendering works or not. The same thing with the power thing. If a private power companies are the ones that are servicing you, if they don't give you power, you don't pay. But this one now is federal. Short. In those days, if you have to pay before complain, both NITEL and NEPA. If there's any issue, they can pay your bill if you don't pay, even for services you don't have. But if it's legislated for telecoms companies to transition from prepaid billing to postpaid billing, a number of things will happen. They would improve on their service delivery. They don't have a choice. Okay? Some people say people will default. People will not pay. Yes, it will happen. In this place, North America, Europe, you have hundreds of thousands of companies set up for customer service, or your bill is due, or okay, can you make an arrangement? So you don't, I talk about poverty alleviation coming. You don't talk about your salary is 30,000. You are thinking about whether it's food or your children's school fees or data that you will buy for your phone. It doesn't mean you won't pay, but you're in a position that not to lose your telecom services, but you can make arrangements for how you could pay your bill. Not you must pay it up front. So the money you will probably use to, while you still need those services to keep trying your business, whatever you're doing, you're selling, you're still trying, you have your services, you're paying. Some people got new companies started to start such. It is the telecoms companies that are doing those now. It's not that there's no postpaid services. The postpaid services in Nigeria are for the rich, as always. They don't offer postpaid to poor people, no? It's rich, it's companies, big corporations that they send bills to. But if that's changed to the general population, first, the telecoms companies have made humongous amounts of money in Nigeria already. They should be challenged to put back, not the CSR, we're donating one thing in one community. No. This is deep in the economy. It's a win-win thing. They will still make money. Yes. But why did they not, who owns the companies? It's the same thing with the issue of oil bunkering and illegal gold mining. illegal whatever. It became worse since the issue of rare earths and special minerals because of technology, you know, even the ones we didn't know their names before. By the grace of improved imaging, satellite imaging, people that are not know what is in your backyard, even that you don't know what they, and they will come and offer you. And somebody will say, I remember a long time ago, somebody, Richie, what are you doing? You can go into mining. What are you mining? You know, you go and get license. They will pay something. You can. They will help you. They will even show you people who are ready to buy. I'm trying to remember the name of that, whatever resource. You know, it's not lithium. It's not. You know. It was the most common that time, and I'm talking like 20, 25 years ago. And they all went into mining. It was illegal. It's not regulated. That's what has mushroomed into these insecurity issues now. Because the community members that you're digging up their land and their backyard want their land. So the next thing is, oh, you're a troublemaker, they will kill the person. Maybe even use the community members to work against. Eventually, a gang is started to gather thing. That is the problem. That's a large chunk of the security challenges in Nigeria that have been given religious garbs and tribal garbs. No, it's greedy business people in connivance with state actors killing Nigerians for the natural resources of Nigeria without commensurate infrastructure, even the live one. Life is the basic infrastructure anybody needs to get anything. The second question here is, was Nigeria actually better before it became an oil state? Yes, the answer is yes. Every region in Nigeria had a resource. The East, it was oil, palm oil. Okay, the West was cocoa. There are other things I'm just mentioning, you know. The south now was timber. It was, you know, marine related products, seafoods. The north you had cocoa, sorry, the west you had cocoa, the north you had granules, cotton. And they were doing well. Because you have to farm, you have to tend the farm to harvest. So you had to do something to produce. Now, discovery of oil, everybody sits lazy. State governors are waiting to collect allocation every month without doing nothing. That's the problem. If you transition back to regions, people will be forced to, and there's no allocation. No, it's not the federal government allocating anything to anybody. It's these regions now paying tax to the federal government to take care of federal institutions and structures. Yeah, it was better. I have heard that powerful Nigerians, not even politicians, can get electricity from the national grid anytime. I don't know about that. If they could tap, if they could mine anything, if they could do anything. But when you say powerful Nigerians, can any sort things happen without connivance from the officials of that company? I saw a video last week, yes, of some police people, you know, talking about an employee of a power company in Abuja that had gone to go remove they showed it on the video, a massive transformer. Because in Nigeria, if your transformer, even if anything happened, is the community that will contribute money. And the community members, of course, they said something was wrong with the transformer. The police said no, they found out nothing was wrong. It's in connivance. They will take that transformer from that place, go and put it in another place, and maybe tell these people now to contribute money is bad, they have to repair it. Those are the kinds of heartless scams going on. And when you are not a beneficiary, that is when it's bad. But if you're a beneficiary, oh, it's good, it's business now. If I do, someone said to me, Richie, why are you complaining? This thing, if you don't present yourself for them to give you short contracts, some other people will do it. That's the problem. That's the problem. But that some other persons will not be me. You should also say it should not be you. Even state actors are criminally minded. If they don't have accomplices, they can't function, they can't work. They will be forced to get things done that should be done. And if they don't, the people should stand up to make them. That's our focus for next episode, the media and the electorate. Last thing I'm going to take here is, if Biafra had agreed resource sharing terms with the Nigerian government, would the war even have happened at all? It would have. Resource sharing, how? The regions had control over the natural resources. But the petroleum now became, the discovery of oil now became an issue. And unfortunately, it is located in the eastern region that time. The only other state that came closest at that time was the Midwest, which some part of the Niger Delta now, covered some part of the Delta now. But the East, from Port Harcourt to Cross River to Akwa Ibom to the Eastern region. Okay? So it wasn't, I don't think it was about Biafra agreeing. The Aburi Accord was about regions controlling, but unfortunately, oil had become a new thing. Okay? And everybody was talking oil. Some people will tell you the war was not because of oil, but it's a lie. It's natural resource. War has continued in Nigeria. They will tell you there's no war. I don't know what else you will call, the frequency and this, spread of the killings that are going on in Nigeria now. I'm not sure that happens in some even war zones. Okay? So it's still leadership problems. Whatever you are agreeing to, whoever has what, it's negotiations. Which is why I brought up the Ekweme case. Companies came, they gave they want land, you took land, went to the government. In Nigeria, land belongs to government. Yes, the community is there, but then they made it to be so. But it shouldn't also be. There's a lot that is wrong that needs to be right. But the starting step should be going back to regions, removing natural resources from the exclusive list. Let regions control the resources within their region and agree on what needs to be contributed to the center, but from which region, and then let the federal government be able to use those for things that it would solve this insecurity problem and a whole lot of other problems. Regions will be forced to produce things because there will be no federal government to collect allocation monthly from. But because that's the system that they have become used to, they will fight it. The powers that be will fight it. They want to control the center, so they control everything. Has it helped? Is it helping? No, it's never going to help. Transitioning from consumption to production can be better achieved if Nigeria goes back to regional governance. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for being part of my show today, part of this podcast. I appeal again, please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, help us to go, and then kindly donate to our GoFundMe campaign for raising funds to produce a documentary on this book, Biafra, Lest We Forget. You can also pick up a copy. The QR code is on the screen. You can pick up a copy of the book, Biafra, Lest We Forget. Support me. I mean, and you support this program. It's not paid for by anybody. It's not funded by anybody. Okay, we're here. Okay, in the last 6 months, we've been running this podcast, and it's our commitment. Some people have asked me, why do you bother? Why don't you just do? I said, okay. I'm not, it's not that I'm not jobless. If you know me, joblessness cannot be named after me in any place. Okay? But I'm concerned. I was involved. I was affected. I'm affected. So we won't stop. So we appeal to you, support us, please. Okay? Support us. We are making some investment in running this podcast every week. Okay? There are some men and young women who are behind everything I'm doing here. They are paid. Nobody pays for anything we are doing here. So if you pick up a copy of any of my books, in this case, and this program is about the Biafra Lest We Forget book, or you make a donation to the GoFundMe campaign for us to produce the documentary, which we don't intend to sell at all. We'll put it to be available, be on the public domain. Anybody can download it, because our interest here is to educate Nigerians and friends of Nigeria. So till I come your way, the next episode, which will be the last, I think, episode in the series of my Biafra story, which will be episode 13 of this season 2 of Say Prayer Guys, May Nigeria Never Happen to You. It will still be next Friday. It will still be 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 1 p.m. West Africa time, including Nigeria. My name is Richie Adewusi. This has been Say Prayer Guys, May Nigeria Never Happen to You. But our prayer on this program, my personal prayer for Nigeria and for all Nigerians, may Nigeria happen for Nigeria and for all friends of Nigeria. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.